The Croatian coast is a narrow strip of land on the eastern shore of the Adriatic Sea. The hinterland ranges in width from 50 kilometres in the north to just a few kilometres in the south and is mostly covered by the rugged Dinaric Mountains, whilst the coastline is dotted with many islands, both large and small. The Balkans have always been a melting pot, and it is only in recent times that the small, friendly, beautiful and very proud nation of Croatia has re-emerged. The combination makes for an extremely attractive tourist destination. Day one of our holiday was spent travelling, but on day two we set off bright and early for a visit to the Zmanja Gorge, which is characteristic of the limestone scenery of the Dinaric Mountains. A bus took us to Novigrad, where we boarded a motor launch for a cruise up the river, through the gorge to Obravac, where we took the bus again to a local farmhouse restaurant for a lunch of local specialities, before returning to Zadar. In the late afternoon, we took a very interesting walk through the old town of Zadar with a local guide.
Jasný máš sladký sad, znaš li za čežnje moje, kad ću te opet zagrlit i ljubit lice tvoje, kad ću te opet zagrlit i ljubit lice tvoje.
We set sail the following morning for Sibinic, and in the afternoon we visited the Krka National Park, home of the famous Radensky Bok cascade of pools and waterfalls. We took a very interesting walk through the whole area and saw how the falls have been used in the past to wash clothes, grind corn and generate electricity. Now, of course, it is principally a tourist attraction.
In this area, in Croatia?
Yeah, in Croatia.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
The following day, after breakfast, we enjoyed a guided walk through the old city of Sibinic, visiting the Cathedral of St. James and many other old traditional buildings, before setting sail for Split. We only sailed in the daytime, and the voyage to Split was about 75 kilometres. These little sea trips were really enjoyable as we cruised through the islands, eating lunch and enjoying the scenery and sunshine. We arrived in Split in the afternoon and immediately disembarked for a guided tour through the wonderful old walled city, which is home to the palace of Diocletian. The following morning, day 5 of our holiday, we sailed on to Omis, a short journey of 15 kilometres, and walked through the quaint little town to join another boat for a cruise through the gorge of the river Cetina to Radamanove Milinici, an old mill dating from 1722. Here they still do things the old way, including baking a bread. Var is one of the top island destinations in the Med, especially for the younger set with its cafe culture and reportedly hedonistic nightlife. So mooring in its quaint little harbour is very restricted, especially in the summer months. That's why we had to tie up in Starigrad on the other side of the island and spend the evening there before getting the bus to Var town the following morning. The town of Var is certainly a pretty little place, with the same type of old town architecture and ambience of some of the other places we'd visited, only on this occasion with an island twist. We had an interesting tour with a well-informed local guide, followed by some time to indulge in the cafe culture.
Radosnu pjesmu pjevaju, u mome oku zatreberi sjaj sreće. Znaj da tvoja ljepota nikad ne stati.
In the afternoon we returned to Starigrad and sailed on to Korčula.
Nikad ne stati neće.
Korčula is said to be the birthplace of Marco Polo, and indeed there is much evidence of the Venetians throughout this region, with the winged lion of St. Mark evident everywhere. It is another pretty little walled town that has a long and interesting history which our excellent guide taught us much about. After our tour, we had a free evening to dine out and wander at our own leisure.
Europe, because he was very enlightened ruler. He wanted also to have all the faiths.
The following morning we sailed to Dubrovnik. Dubrovnik has emerged in recent years as one of those global destinations, and of course Game of Thrones has brought it to a whole new audience. It can get very busy, but fortunately we were there before the summer peak and it was not too crowded. It certainly is a spectacular place in a spectacular location. Lots of history and some great architecture. If you've watched Game of Thrones, you'll recognise that staircase. You have to walk the walls to get the best perspective, but you can just wander around at street level and soak up the history and ambience. It was a great place to finish our tour. Our guide was great, and she returned to the boat with us for a personal insight to the modern Croatia, which was very interesting. In the evening we had the captain's dinner, a farewell party where we were entertained by a couple of local folk singers. All in all, it was a great way to end a fantastic trip.
Srca, biće tada samo tvoj.